Hey everyone, Glenn here from rewiringtinnitus.com. So today I'm excited to share another episode of my new Ask Me Anything About Tinnitus video series where I answer your most pressing questions about tinnitus. For anyone new to the channel, my name is Glenn Schweitzer and I'm the author of the book Rewiring Tinnitus and the blog of the same name. I also write a tinnitus column at healthyhearing.com, and for the last 8 years I've worked with nearly 1,000 tinnitus patients one-on-one from all over the world as a tinnitus coach, helping people to habituate as quickly as possible to find lasting relief from the ringing in their ears. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering a question that I get all the time from tinnitus sufferers all over the world. How can you find relief from sound sensitivity and hyperacusis? Okay, so this is a very important question, as sound sensitivity is a very closely related phenomenon to tinnitus that affects somewhere in the range of 40 to 50% of tinnitus sufferers. When you are highly sensitive to sounds, it can make it very difficult to operate in the world. For some people, it can almost feel like you have super hearing, where every sound is coming in way too loud. For others, it's only certain sounds or certain frequencies. And for many hyperacusis patients, certain sounds can feel very painful. But in almost every case, the emotional and psychological impacts of sound sensitivity can become significant and difficult. A lot of noises start to become scary, and many people do whatever they can to block and avoid sounds whenever possible. In the moment, this may help you to feel better, but it can actually end up making the problem worse because your nervous system will start to react to quieter and quieter sounds, increasing rather than decreasing your overall sensitivity to sound. So at its worst, sound sensitivity can completely destroy your quality of life all on its own. And when combined with bothersome tinnitus, it becomes even more challenging. But the good news is that you can desensitize to sound and find lasting relief from even the worst cases of sound sensitivity and hyperacusis, whether it's occurring with tinnitus or not. In my one-on-one tinnitus coaching practice, I have personally witnessed hundreds of sound sensitivity and hyperacusis sufferers find relief. And here's where it gets interesting. At the level of the nervous system, the problem of sound sensitivity looks very similar to the problem of tinnitus, and the solutions to both problems look very similar too. In the case of bothersome tinnitus, your nervous system gets stuck in a vicious cycle of fight or flight, reacting more and more severely to the internal sounds of tinnitus. In the case of hyperacusis and sound sensitivity, your nervous system is doing essentially the same thing, but it's reacting to the external sounds and frequencies instead. In fact, there's actually this whole group of hearing conditions that all present a little bit differently, but have the same underlying mechanism of the nervous system getting stuck in this overactivated state. In addition to hyperacusis and sound sensitivity, there's also autophony, which is hearing your own voice echo loudly in your head. There is misophonia, which is having this strong emotional or anger type response to very specific sounds, such as chewing or heavy breathing or crunching. There's phonophobia, which is fear of sounds. And then there's tensor tympani syndrome and mid-ear myoclonus, which is essentially a muscle spasm of the tensor tympani muscle, just to name a few. And in my work with patients, I have found that all of these related conditions can be treated and improved in very similar ways. I've been getting a lot of questions on these other conditions too, and I'm likely going to make some videos covering them in more detail in the near future. But sound sensitivity and hyperacusis specifically can be caused by a variety of different health conditions and factors. But you don't actually need to know how it started to be able to desensitize and restore your quality of life. The number one goal of treating hyperacusis is to calm the overactivated nervous system response to all triggering sounds and frequencies. And there are many ways to achieve this. In my own practice working with patients, I use a meditation-based strategy. So interestingly, I discovered early on that the tinnitus-focused meditation techniques that I teach to help people habituate and find relief from tinnitus usually improve sound sensitivity as a side effect without the patient having to do anything extra to desensitize. It takes time, and for some patients, the side effect improvements are not enough. But calming the nervous system down is key, and my tinnitus-focused meditation techniques do this very effectively. For hyperacusis patients who also have tinnitus, I have found this to be a very powerful and effective strategy. But when sound sensitivity is severe, I also utilize another strategy with meditation, where I instruct patients to meditate with background noise that triggers their sound sensitivity and provokes an anxiety or emotional response. Because meditation is such a calming mental exercise, if you can successfully get into a meditative state of relaxation while listening to a triggering sound, it retrains the nervous system to be calm in the presence of that sound and reduces sensitivity over time. In addition to meditation, sound therapy and sound masking can be extremely helpful for sound sensitivity as well. But the strategy is a bit different than using sound therapy for tinnitus masking. With hyperacusis and sound sensitivity, when you hear a triggering sound in silence, it will always cause a more intense reaction in the nervous system, and it can almost feel like a physical hit to the body. So when you're using sound therapy for hyperacusis, the best strategy is to use much quieter volume levels than you would have used for tinnitus sound therapy, simply as a way to keep the auditory system activated at all times. The quieter sound therapy sounds act as a kind of buffer, lessening the nervous system response in the moment, which will help you to desensitize the sound over time. I also want to acknowledge that when severe tinnitus and hyperacusis occur together, it's usually very difficult and time-consuming to find the right sound therapy sounds and the right volume levels to actually help with both problems. But I do believe that it's always possible. It's just very challenging to do. And there are also many other strategies that I didn't cover here today and techniques, but the bottom line is that if you are suffering from any level of sound sensitivity, there's hope. As scary as sounds may be right now, you can fully desensitize and restore your quality of life. So that's all for me for today. I hope you guys found this helpful. Take care, everybody.